When asked about gun control, however, the president told reporters, we're not going to talk about that today. So when do we talk about it? Should we talk about it at all? Let's take this on and some other big topics of the day with Kellyanne Conway, counselor to President Trump. Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Good morning, Christopher.
And it was interesting to me hearing the president reach out to people and recognize what they had done for one another. It does raise a question. Why don't we owe the victims of this the same consideration they showed one another to take on something that's hard, that's even dangerous, in the effort to stop this from happening to everybody else? Talk about gun control, mental illness, what works and what doesn't. Why not take this challenge on right now?
Christopher, what the president was saying yesterday is that he was there for the people in need who are injured and recovering hospitals, for the families whose lives are shattered and will never feel quite the same, who are about to give their final goodbyes on this earth to their loved ones. He was incredibly candid and sympathetic yesterday, the man who has great compassion and capacity for empathy that we see here every single day, who many times throughout his life and his career have been asked to help people, whether it's through an opportunity, lend a hand, certainly a donation. And that is what he was focused on yesterday. Now, you see that there are Republican senators who are talking about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is a bedrock principle of our Constitution, just like the First Amendment allows you and I to have this conversation at the moment. That should be protected. We are hearing from so many legislators and so many individuals in this country, and you read it publicly too, Chris, they never even heard of a bump stock before. And so I did know, and it's in the New York Times today as well, that it was President Obama's ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, 2010, that decided not to regulate this device. That should be part of the conversation and part of the facts that you put before your viewers.
Said it last night at the town hall. It's good to have it out there now.
Yes, I want to say something else. We did a quick search. And so if you go and you do a comparable search, you will see that this conversation isn't being had until tragedies like this strike by those who tried to be the loudest voices. You see Hillary Clinton, who's out on a book tour talking about herself, not talking about this. You see her rushing to judgment on Twitter the other day while people are still looking through the rubble, searching through the hospitals for their missing loved ones, trying to politicize it. She's tweeted about guns exactly one time this year. Bernie Sanders, 0 times. Elizabeth Warren, 0 times. They have tweeted about Russia over 30 times, Sanders and Warren, and it approximates CNN's own coverage. Your obsession with Russia has been to the exclusion of this conversation. So I know the high horse cavalry loves to run in, thumping their chest after the tragedies, but let's step back and have a thoughtful conversation about everything that is at play here. The more information all of us can learn about what happened in Las Vegas, the better.
Kellyanne, I'm tired, so I apologize in advance, but I have to tell you, a lot of this just doesn't wash. All you need to know about the bump stock is that it was legal, and that's what allowed him to lay down that field of fire. That's all you need to know about it. There's no thoughtful conversation to have about it. Of course it was 2010. Of course it was the Obama administration. I'm saying don't cheapen what happened in Las Vegas.
No, don't go
the
there.
People who I'm going to go there, my friend, and here's why.
Yeah.
When Bob Patterson came out last night with his daughter, his 16-year-old daughter, they lost their mother, he lost his wife. You know what he wants to know? The same thing that people say time and time again.
And I said, let's
why
have a
was this able to? No, but the president says not now. And then it never happens. You make the point yourself. Whether you want to put it on Sanders or any other Democrat, you say they don't talk about it except when these happen. Yeah, that's right. Because when it happens, there's acute need and there's focus. And when you say, well, we don't want to talk about it now, you're ignoring the urgency and you're hoping it goes away.
The president was focused on the tragedy and the victims. You are putting words in his mouth and mine, and I'm not going to allow you to do it.
No, that's exactly what he said.
In this moment.
You're the one spinning it. I'm trying to de-spin
it. You want him, after spending the day visiting bedside with people who, thank God, look like they're on their way to recovery, and dozens of others are not.
Hope so.
You want him to turn around and talk about as he's boarding Air Force One, as he's leaving the day. Yesterday he was focused on those in need, and he will continue to be. The day before he was in Puerto Rico. Not that you give him fair and full coverage, helping other people in need. He's been spending the last month on the ground in Louisiana, Texas, Florida, Puerto Rico, Las Vegas now, helping those in need who
Yeah.
have suffered at the hand of natural disasters and as he says in Las Vegas, a pure act of evil, nothing else to call it. So those conversations will continue. You see a number of Republican senators have said that they're going to take a look at this, and all the while them saying that they are for the Second Amendment. Many of them are gun owners and sportsmen themselves.
The president's first instinct when this happened in Las Vegas was he said, yeah, we are going to have to talk about guns at some point. And then all of a sudden, something happened, and he said, no, we're not going to talk about that right now.
No, that's not fair, Chris.
It is. You need to seize on the urgency of this, or it will never happen. If you don't seize on the urgency, it will never happen. And if you care about the victims, you care about why they got killed. And if you think that what this man had isn't part of that conversation, then you talk about why they died, and you talk about what made it possible.
You know darn well he cares about those victims.
It's sensitive.
And you shouldn't say otherwise, and you know it. I'm not going to let you do that.
I never said otherwise. I never said otherwise. Kellyanne, it's so obvious when you run away from a point and try to blame the questioner.
I'm like the last person
I never
to run away
said
from
he doesn't
anything.
care. I hope he cares. We're all banking on him caring. Puerto Rico, we wanted him to care. We wanted him to care about it when he wasn't talking about it, when he was talking about the NFL. We went down there to show the need. It's not fake to show need. That's not fake.
There you go.
It's not fake.
Somebody hit a nerve, so I didn't say the word
Sure he
fake.
does. When he maligns an entire crisis by saying it's fake, when saying it's not that bad because it's not like Katrina.
Let me know when you have a
offensive.
question or if you want your guest to speak this morning. Let me know if your guest gets to speak.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I don't hear a question in that.
Well, I asked them. You have a tendency not to answer the specific question.
Let me say a couple things about Puerto Rico. This president has directed an entire federal government and administration. We have, at one count, 15,000 people on the ground helping them. We have volunteers helping them. The electricity is going to take a long time to be restored. People have gotten millions of meals and liters of water, and we're doing what we can on an island 1,100 miles away from land, trying to help those in need. And when people take a shot at the president and try to even question, try to put a piece of tissue paper between him and his commitment to those people and those people, you should think thrice about that. That's number two. Number one, and most importantly, you're talking about the urgency to have a conversation. You and your network have felt an urgency about Russia and some phony baloney collusion this entire calendar year.
Nobody says it's phony baloney.
No, I'm sorry.
Nobody who's investigating says it's phony baloney, by the way.
Well, the president
Republicans
does.
included.
Do you know the airtime that you have spent? Do you know the graphics? Do you have any graphics on bump stocks? No, you don't. You have graphics on Russia. You have graphics on palace intrigue. You have graphics on impeachment. You have people. You have panels 7 versus 1 against the president. You call
It's the first time we've seen it used,
which hasn't been true.
It's the first time we've seen it used in a mass murder. What are you talking about? It is the first time a bump stock has been relevant in the discussion.
It's not the first time. Is it the first time that there's been a mass shooting in this country?
Of course not. And every time we have one, I ask you and people who are in power, is it time to discuss why it happens? And they say, not now, be respectful. As if not discussing why these people died is being, that's not being respectful. That's what they want. That's what the victims' families want.
So why has Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren not talked about not bump stocks, but this issue this entire year? Why the obsession with Russia? They're approximating.
They probably
CNN's
didn't know
coverage.
what they were. They were never relevant in a story before. Is that your bar for success? Do you want to be like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders? Is that your measure of good leadership? Is that why you named them?
I want the high horse cavalry here to have some introspection and show some respect for these people.
I thought you wanted to be sensitive to the victims. So you want to be sensitive and respectful, but you don't want to talk about how they died. You don't want to talk about that, but you want to be respectful.
Yes, I do want to talk about how they died. Here's how they died. Innocent people enjoying themselves at a concert in the greatest country on earth, where we are free to come and go, who were victim by a madman who perpetrated.
We don't know that he was a madman. He could have just been really evil. We don't know that he was sick. We just know that legally he could mass an arsenal and attach something to his weapons that allowed them to rain down fire, which he never would have been able to do if he didn't use something that was legal and easy to get.
Legal in 2010, the Obama administration's Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau said they wouldn't regulate that device.
So you admit it was a mistake in 2010. Why don't you fix it right now?
I'd like everybody to be involved in the conversation here, because that was 7 years ago for a different president. Donald Trump was busy being a successful
Nobody's
businessman in New
blaming
York.
the president.
Well,
Nobody's blaming the president
Yeah, you are.
about what happened. No, we're really not. And it kind of matters
You're blaming
because
him for saying that.
Yes.
You're blaming him today because you want your anti-Trump viewers to hear you blame him, and then you want to have anti-Trump
Kellyanne.
panels to bolster the point later.
Kellyanne,
you are
don't
blaming
cheapen this
him for
conversation.
turning around
Don't
and
do it.
saying that we're not having that conversation today, meaning yesterday, when he spent the day truly and deeply and emotionally moved to be in the company of those injured and suffering in hospitals.
If
to
you're
meet with
moved by what
survivors,
happened
to
to
meet
the
with first
to the
responders,
victims,
the true heroes.
then you act on what happened to them. That's all I'm saying.
Yesterday,
and
right,
now
Chris?
is the time. Now is
Yesterday.
the time to say that you care. No, you do both.
Yes,
you
we
go and
all
you
care.
comfort. You show moral agency, and then you take action as a
He did-
leader
he
to
did
try to
all of
make it
that.
better
He
the
showed
next time.
all of that yesterday.
I'm not
That's who
saying what he
is.
showed or he
People
didn't
are so
show.
grateful
I'm
he's
saying
the
that
leader right now at these terrible
then
times in our
fine,
nation.
then take on the issue. Do what they did at that concert ground. Go against something that was dangerous and reach out to others because it was the right thing to do, even if it puts you at risk.
All
That's what the
yesterday.
people who survived did, and some who did not, our
Right.
leaders, should do the same, shouldn't they?
Christopher, everything should be examined. The more information we learn about what happened in Las Vegas, the better everyone is. We all want answers. We all feel frustrated and deeply saddened this week. We grieve with all of those who lost their loved ones, all of those who are recovering. And that's why the president, the first lady, the vice president, the cabinet, that's why the president has thrown himself shoulder to shoulder with those in need, truly moved. And he paid his respects yesterday and just stood eye to eye with those who showed great acts of heroism. People standing in line for hours at blood banks, the greatest part of America. I mean, you can't, the media constantly, the president should unify. So he takes a moment to do that, and you don't like the way he's doing it. He's not on your timeline. He's not doing it according to what you think should be done on a certain date. That's just not acceptable. That's not acceptable. Why can't you have the conversation? Why can't you admit, too, that at CNN, you and your colleagues have been talking about other things to the exclusion of these issues? You
First of
act
all,
like this was the
they are
first mass
relevant
shooting.
when they occur. That's like saying, hey, you guys
okay.
never talked about Puerto Rico's hurricane problems before the hurricane. Yeah, that's how it works. You have a crisis and you deal with it in the moment. But let's leave that conversation to the
I have a
side. Let me
meeting
ask
in a
you about
minute.
something else.
Very
Good.
quickly.
Let me ask you one more thing. Rex Tillerson, the president just tweeted that the Secretary of State never threatened to resign. This is fake news put out by NBC News, low news and reporting standards, no verification from me. Let's put this in context. The Secretary of State didn't deny that he had called the president a moron. He said he doesn't want to deal with it, so he didn't refute the reporting outright on that level. And then Bob Corker, a Republican senator, came out and said that Tillerson, Mattis, and Kelly are the three men that keep us from chaos. Do you have any concerns about stability within the White House?
That's Senator Corker giving accolades to the great leadership of our Secretary of State, our former DHS Secretary, now our Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and Secretary Mattis at the Pentagon. He is crediting their leadership from keeping this country from the chaos around the world. They support the president. They serve the president. He handpicked them in their cabinet.
So you think it's the chaos around the world, not the chaos in the White House?
And now, Chief, instead there's a lot of chaos around the world, this president inherited a true mess, as he says all the time. So Secretary Tillerson yesterday did a couple of, I thought, remarkable things. A, he got the president to say that the president has full confidence in him. B, Rex Tillerson said he has never once considered stepping aside and resigning from Secretary of State. He also went on to give us a total catalog of progress as Secretary of State and as the president. He talked about Pakistan and Iran. He talked about hotspots around the globe. He talked about all the progress they're making around the world. So that, I thought it was a remarkable catalog of the progress. He said he has never once thought of resigning and that he supports the president as much today as he did the day he took this job. And he reminded everybody why Donald Trump got elected. He got elected because he promised to take our country in a new and different direction around the globe and to ensure our safety and security. Also, Rex Tillerson says something that I know firsthand is a great way to operate in this town against a lot of odds and naysayers and critics, which is, he said he's not going to play this game. He doesn't understand why people try to sow dissension.
And it was
dissension.
and it was odd that he felt the need to come out in a press conference to say all that. It's something we're not used to seeing.
I thought it was remarkable. I thought
it was certainly
great
remarkable. We agree.
It was great, and we're glad he's a Secretary of State, and we're glad he's busy helping improve the safety and security of us and our allies and our interests around the globe, because this president is right. He inherited a big mess. Thank you, Chris.
Kellyanne Conway, thank you for taking the time. Have a good day.